Hey, what's up everybody? Chris Cougar here, and today I'm going to show you how to turn your raw photos into a spectacular image that's going to capture everyone's attention. Using Lightroom and a couple of its tools, we can make this happen really quickly. So let's get to it. Okay, so now we're in Lightroom, and we have our fully edited photo here, and here is the raw version. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to completely just reset this, just to make sure we're starting from scratch. And take you through the whole editing process. It's real quick and you can get a great image. So I like to start off in the lens correction, and you basically want to move from left to right. So start in your basic panel and you're going to end in the manual. So in the basic, I'm going to do two things here. I'm going to do enable profile corrections, pretty much gets rid of any lens vignetting, and then remove chromatic aberration. And this pretty much takes away any fringing of the colors along certain areas of contrast. So I don't know if you'll really be able to see it here when I zoom in, but anything along these trees, sometimes it happens. A lot of times it happens in the corners of your image too. You'll get some fringing. It's usually pretty minimal, but sometimes it can really enhance your image. Profile, you just want to make sure that your lens is what you shot with. So I had the Canon 24-70, so that's good. Don't need to change anything there. Next is the color profile. If your chromatic aberration wasn't really looking to your eye, you can actually mess with these amounts here, but ours is looking good, so that's fine. And lastly, manual. The main things I like to mess with here, it's usually what's needed is the rotate if your horizon is off, and mine is just a hair off here. So what I'm going to do is use these the grid lines, to actually line up to the horizon. This one's pretty minimal. I think about 0.5 will do it. So we have it right there. Alright, so the next thing I want to do is add a crop to this image. So when we added some rotation, you're going to see some white bars up here. I want to get rid of those. And I also want to reframe the image and I want to make this ocean part, like the central part of the image, as well as these houses. So I'm going to bring these in a little bit here. Let's see. I'm kind of just keeping the rule of thirds in mind here, trying to keep like the middle house around that. It doesn't have to be perfectly on it, but you kind of want to adhere to that rule usually. That should be good right there. And again, you can always go into the crop tool and mess with it, change it as you go along. But I just want to get a quick crop on it. Next, I'm going to hop into the basic panel, and this is, as it sounds like, you're going to get the white balance here, your exposure and contrast, your highlights, and all your shadows, and then just like some saturation. So I like to go with the white balance first. I'm pretty happy with this image as it's shot. So if you go to the left here, it's going to make it cooler. To the right, it's going to add a lot more warmth, some yellows. I was pretty happy where it's at. If anything, I want to bring it just a little bit cooler for the ocean's sake. So let's see. I did not mean to do that. Let's go. Yeah, about right there. It's pretty good. And then the tint, again, you can slide with this and kind of mess with it. It's either going to make it greener or pinker. I was pretty happy where it's at. For the sake of these, like this bushery here, I don't know what to really call it, some greens, I'm going to pop that down just a little bit, 22. Next, I'm going to move the exposure. So I like to go to the histogram here and check this out. We're not clipping too low here. I mean, a little bit down here, but we're not clipping on the highlights. I'm going to bring up the exposure just a tad though. I really like this kind of feathery area, and I want it to kind of like light up this part of the image a little bit more. And also, for this sake, bring it up a little bit. So let's see. Not too much. Maybe like that. That's pretty good. I'm going to skip contrast right now and come back to it after I make the rest of my edits. I feel like contrast, you can do that last in the basic panel. Highlights, let's see. I don't want to go too high here because I don't want to blow out all these clouds. So I'm actually going to go lower here. Let's see. Kind of like that. Right around there is pretty good. The shadows, I want to liven up this part of the image by these houses and the trees. So I'm definitely going to bring that up. Yeah. Let's see. It's pretty good. We can always come back to that. The whites, let's see here. Definitely want to brighten up the image a little bit. Let's go right around and then blacks, I tend to like to go a little bit darker. And again, you can mess with these sliders. kind of see what's going to work for you. I'm going to bring it down just a little bit though. Okay. Lastly, I'm going to add some clarity. I don't want to go like super HDR. Like if you go way to 100, that's not looking good for anyone. So let's see. Right on there's pretty solid. I'm going to add some vibrance, just kind of bring some pop. And then lastly, a little bit of saturation on top of that. Just a little bit. Don't want to get too crazy here. Let's go 9. That works. Bring the vibrance up just a little bit. Okay. Alright. And lastly, the contrast. Let's see here. I kind of want to bump this up here. Say right there. Pretty happy with that so far. Alright. Alright, so we finished our basic edits. And again, you can always go back and change something if you're not in love with your image and you want to switch something up. Perfectly fine. But I'm going to move on to the next part. I'm not going to touch the tone curve right now just because I'm happy with how the image is looking. But I am going to move into this next panel, which is called the hue, saturation, and luminance. So the hue, basically I'll just show you kind of what it does here. So it changes, basically it takes a color and switches it pretty much completely. I don't want to do too much here. I may want to bring a little bit of this yellow to the greener section. I want to make it a little bit greener, and the green the same. Do like that. The aqua, I might do a little bit less here. I kind of like the contrast between this light area of the ocean and the darker in the background. But I really don't want to touch too much here. I like the image how it looks, and I'm going to add some more saturation and luminance to kind of bring that out a little bit. So when I look at this image, I really like the ocean here. So I'm going to bring that to the forefront and kind of take these greens and put them, try to minus them a little bit. So take a little saturation out of that. So let's see here. I know there's not really any red in the image. I'm going to bump that up just a little bit for the tops of the houses. I think looks cool. And I kind of just slide these a little bit. Just first see what part of the image you're dealing with. So here with the orange, I'm dealing with the beaches and the side of these houses here. Don't really care to change that. I'm going to just put that back to 0. That's fine. Yellow. So these are the plants we're dealing with here. I don't want it that low per se. Let's move it down maybe like 15. Yeah, maybe not even that much. Like there's good. Green, just a little bit lower. Nothing's crazy here. Here's where I really want the image to pop though. So I'm gonna move these aqua ones up a little bit here. Even more so. Let's bring like 20. Blues for sure. So you can see it just kills the image there. The blues is where it's really gonna happen. Boom. Yeah, I'm liking that. Purples. What am I dealing with here? Not much on the purples. I can just leave that there at 0. Cool. So I'm pretty happy with that. Luminance is where it's going to bring some light to the image. So this is going to derive from a specific color. So let's see. I know these plants here are off the yellow scale, so takes all the light out of the image there from there. Or you can turn all the way up. Boom. So I do not want that, right? I want this image. Again, I want the blues to pop really. So I'm going to bring this down just a little bit. Maybe like 6 there. Go back to the reds here. Bring that down just a little bit. I think these houses were popping a little bit too much. And again, I want to focus on the oceans here. So the aquas and the blues where I'm going to make my money. Let's see here. I actually don't want it too bright. I think a little bit lower gets some better color, just from my eye. So I'm going to bring it down. Yeah, like there. Yeah, right around there. Blues. Ooh, yeah. Definitely want to bring this one down here. Bring it around 20. Okay. And there's just a little bit, I guess, in the clouds. I'll bring this down just a tad there too. Where's the greens here? I'm going to bring this down just a little bit as well. Boom. Pretty happy with that. So the last thing I'm going to do, real minimal here, but I think it really helps the image, is I'm going to touch on the split toning. So it's split up into two parts, your highlights and your shadows. And I'll turn up the saturation just so you can see what parts of the image we're affecting here. So right off that sun, and then deep down here, basically any part in the shadows down there. So as I mentioned before, I really like this kind of left part of the image. I think it's kind of dreamy, how it kind of shines in on the ocean there. So I want to make that part just a little warmer, because I know we have the sun over there. So I'm going to put this, I'm turn the saturation up just a little bit so I can see what I'm doing. And I'm going to move this, kind of want it, you got to be real minute here and just kind of see what you like. I like it kind of in that golden area right there. And now I'm going to bring the saturation down. I don't want it that high. This one a little bit. Boom. Pretty heavy right there. Just a little bit, kind of highlighting right where it's shining in. The shadows, let's see here. Bring this up just so I can see what I'm messing with here. And usually I like to contrast. If I make the highlights warm, I want to make the shadows a little cooler. So I'm going to go there and just kind of see what I'm working with. Kind of like right around there. So bring the saturation down. I don't want it super high here, just real minimal. Maybe right around there. And boom. That's it. Pretty happy with our image right there. Alright guys, that's it for this tutorial today. I hope you learned a little bit more about Lightroom and how to edit your photos and make them pop. If you liked the video, feel free to like it, subscribe. I got more tutorials coming out all the time, and comment below if you have any questions regarding Lightroom or anything in the photo or video world. Other than that, have a great day.